Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching, whatever time you're listening. Welcome to Your Onion podcast show. Today we have a very special guest. I say that every week, but we have a very special guest. And that is Stefanie McCollum. And she is the Canadian ambassador.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Is there a special, am I meant to call you, what is that?
There are, I prefer Stefanie, but it's Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, yes.
Her Excellency or Your Excellency if you're talking to me directly.
Okay.
So if you're referring to me in the third person, Her Excellency would like a glass of water, or Your Excellency. You can also simply say ambassador, like Mr. or Mrs. or Dr. Ambassador, but I find it all quite formal, and Stefanie is just fine.
So Stefanie's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Good.
Especially
you're
once I know someone.
Yeah, and you're like the female version of me.
There you go.
I'm Stefan and you're Stefan.
That's right.
And it's with the F as well?
Yes. Well, I was born in Germany, and I was expected to be a boy. And so I was due to be a Stefan with the F. My mother thought that spelling, which she saw in Germany, compelling. And when I popped out a girl, she had to make a change of plans. And so the IE on the end. Yes, it cursed me to people misspelling my name for my entire life. But that was the original plan, was to be a Stefan.
And why were you born in Germany?
My father was in the Air Force. So we moved around quite a bit. He was stationed at the time in Baden-Baden, and Lahr actually is where I was born. And then we moved to Baden-Baden. And I grew up living around Canada on military bases. So British Columbia, Northern Alberta, most recently Ontario, Ottawa. And then I, graduated and started to make my own way in life, and then joined the government when we were in Ottawa out of high school, and did my degree at night, actually, because there was a massive hiring freeze just after I joined. I won't say what year. And I was making money, and so I thought, well, I'll just flip this, right? And I'll go to university at night and keep my great paying day job in the federal government, which in your nation's capital is a good gig, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So worked for a lot of different federal departments, and eventually joined global affairs, or foreign affairs as it was in the day, because it had both things. I like change. I love to travel. It gets a little bit exhausting if you have to keep finding a new job every couple of years on your own and changing. So
now, do you think the love of change, do you think that's due to your childhood as well, about moving around?
I think it is, yeah.
My childhood was similar.
Was it?
My dad worked for an international bank, and every time he got promoted, we would move around the country.
And did you like it?
I always felt that it was a new start. Even at a youngster, it was just like, nice. Here we go. It's a new, fresh start.
Yeah, you can reinvent yourself if you want.
I like that as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. And I think it depends, on your personal experience. You get mixed reviews. But from us going to military base, there was always so much turnover that at school you didn't have to worry about joining a clique or coming into a group that had been together their whole life, because somebody had just lost a best friend, right? Somebody had just moved away. Yeah. And so if you're coming in, it was easier to make friends. I know people who moved around from large city to large city and found it a lot harder because it was less transient, and for them to kind of come in at pre-teen or teenage and try to make themselves into these social circles that had existed for so long.
It's harder.
It was a little. They didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I found it. Yes, I think growing up, you get that feeling of wanting to go on to the next place. And
exactly.
The next thing.
My sister found it hard, and she stayed one of the last places that my mum and dad were at.
Oh, really?
So she's been there for years now. Yeah. Yeah. But for me, I carried on moving around.
Did you? Good for you.
Yeah.
And how many cities is this then? Doha is which? Have you counted?
Good question. Although we've moved like 7 or 8 times here in Doha.
Well, that counts.
I lived in Rome.
Right.
But in the UK as well, I moved from job to job. So, I can't remember.
That's it.
Yeah.
Which in itself is work, right? You have to go out there and find it.
Yeah, I had no issue.
Make that change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Which is what I did in Ottawa, where I had stayed for the longest amount of time. I wasn't relocating, and so I was changing jobs in the federal government every few years.
Yeah, I'm curious. Where's the longest place that you've actually lived?
It would be Ottawa.
Yeah. And how many years?
Be Ottawa. That's a good question. I want to say probably 10.
That's your longest?
10 to 12 years. Yeah, it was a long time. Changing jobs minimum every 3 to 4. Yeah, and then doing big trips and, on vacation.
Yeah.
And then when I joined Global Affairs, I've been there for about 15 years now. That has the built-in relocation and travel, so I don't have to worry about it so much.
You love all that. And
I do.
And the family's flexible in moving around?
Yeah, the family grew up a little bit like I did. That's all they know. My daughter was 6 when we left Canada, and my son was 1, and he's now 14. So it's what they know, and they're pretty good. And I think a little bit like you said about reinventing, we learned, some tricks from other families about give them the opportunity to redecorate their room each move, give them and one stellar piece of advice was arrive just the day before school.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So no kind of lead up time, a couple of weeks
transition.
before?
No.
Just straight in?
Straight in. Because, for us it's busy. We're settling into the new house. We're worried about our personal effects. We're connecting internet and telephone. And they're bored and they're missing their friends.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't know anyone. The expat life, certainly in Doha, it's amplified because of the expat population here. But the expats are all typically home for the summer, children anyway.
Yeah.
So there aren't people in the neighborhoods for them to meet.
No,
they
true.
don't really start their lives until school starts. So, and they're really resilient. So you let them be with their current friends as long as possible. And the day before the new school starts, you bring them and immerse them right away into a new schedule, new routine. And a lot of the international schools abroad, you might have seen this with your kids. The first day is usually a meet and greet, socializing day. So if you come right for that orientation day and that first day of school, they're kind of plunged right into it.
And there's always new kids starting, so they're not alienated or.
No, it's a little bit easier. I mean, they do miss home, they miss their old friends but at least they're on the path very quickly to making the new friends, and it usually only takes a week or two. Kids are so resilient.
No, absolutely.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
So they say they liked it. We'll see if I start getting slapped with therapy bills later. Then I'll know that maybe there was some damage. But so far, so good.
Okay, so all right, let's go back again to. So what's it called? You went into the
department so now it's called Global Affairs Canada. We'll just call it what it's called now. It's changed iterations so many times.
Okay.
Every government renames kind of the ministries or merges them or splits them for a more effective government. So we are now Global Affairs Canada, which is Canada's foreign ministry.
Oh, okay.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
And where was your first post?
First post was first posting, first assignment, San Francisco.
Well, that's not bad.
Well, that's not bad, right? That's a nice start.
Nice stuff.
Yeah, and that was because, quite honestly, nobody else would go.
Really?
That's how I came in. Yeah, well, I think people join the Foreign Service for this
to
kind of exotic life, and San Francisco or even the United States, in comparison to Canada, is quite similar. There are some cultural differences to be sure, but lifestyle-wise, it's very similar. It wasn't that exotic kind of experience that people join the Foreign Service for.
Yeah.
I found it fascinating. San Francisco is a beautiful city. There's a lot to see and do, and there was enough of a cultural difference to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And we had a great with younger children then, 6 and 1, like I said, fantastic place to raise family.
Do people are able to differentiate you as a Canadian? Can they hear through the accent? Because I never can.
Only sometimes. If we say certain words, we get teased constantly for words like about. Apparently, you can hear the difference between us if we say about, house.
Why? How does Americans say about?
I don't know. Apparently differently than we do.
Okay.
I don't know. Apparently, it sounds like we're saying a boot.
Ah, okay.
A boot and hoos is what they hear, even though we don't hear that.
Yeah.
But so yes, I would be at the grocery store or something, and I'd say something about the house, and they'd perk up a bit and say, "Wait a minute,
you're not American,
Canadian." Yeah, that's right. And I think, "Oh, what did I say?"
Yeah.
So those type of words apparently give us away. Otherwise, they don't tend to know. No.
Okay. So how long were you in San Francisco?
4 years.
4 years. Is that the longest you're able to stay?
Usually you can extend a year. It's based on the hardship level. So depending on how difficult the environment is for yourself and for your family, there'll be the shorter posting. So you can have anywhere from 1 year in very dangerous places like Afghanistan or Iraq or others, to 2 to 3 4 years for what they consider non-hardship postings, Western Europe, United States, some places in Asia, where the life is comparable to that in Canada. And then you can extend. So there's anywhere from a 1 to 4 year regular contract, which can be extended 1 to 2 years if you like.
And how many embassies have they got in America?
I want to say there are about 14, actually. There's the embassy in Washington, and then you have consulates general in most of the major cities. Yeah, a massive trading partner for Canada, right? I mean, politically we're intertwined, culturally we're intertwined. We share a massive border, but a significant amount of trade. They're our number one trading partner in terms of goods coming back and forth on the border and that relationship. Yeah, for sure.
Trump's not thinking of building a wall between you and Canada?
No, not that I've heard.
Well, you never know. Okay, so you did 4 years in San Francisco, and then
2 years in Cairo after that. So right from San Francisco to Cairo.
So how was that? Because now you're,
Yeah, we loved it.
That's different.
Yeah, and we were there during the revolution, actually, during the Arab Spring, just by chance, yes.
Wow.
So before and after, wonderfully safe, a great place for children. The Egyptians are very, kind of family-oriented, warm culture, and we really enjoyed it there. And it relatively safe, which people are surprised to hear, but really before the revolution, there wasn't a lot, and even during and shortly thereafter, there wasn't a lot of crime that would affect the expat in terms of home break-ins or car break-ins or petty theft on the street or assault. Very, very safe from that perspective.
But why that's happening? Were you not concerned that, you and your family for your...
So during the revolution, when it started, we did a voluntary departure of all families who were wanting to go. So most of our families left and were flown home, and we stayed to work during the Arab Spring. The embassy stayed open the entire time to help Canadians that were still there. We have tens of thousands of Canadians who either live or were visiting there that needed assistance in that time. So that was a busy 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we stayed on after, and we would have actually honestly stayed the additional year. We would have asked to extend. But my son had some breathing difficulties, some asthma. He was on a lot of medication at a young age. I was quite worried about him. He was only 4 or 5 and taking a lot of medication to keep his asthma at bay. So we decided for health reasons to move on. But we would have liked to have stayed to see how it played out. At that time, it was only 6 months past the revolution, and we still didn't know what was going to happen to this country that we were calling home at the time. We would have liked to have stayed, but my son's health was the priority.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Family first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you were there for people, but were you there for businesses as well? Were you helping businesses? Is there a lot of businesses?
There were a lot. So the embassies, we have, depending on the size of the embassy, you have different programs and areas of responsibility. So the one that people know the most, obviously, is if you're a citizen, it's the passports, the notary services, the paperwork.
Yeah, that's all I kind of associate embassies with.
But there are clients. So those are usually people that come to us for visas. They're applying for visas to visit or study or settle in Canada. So there's a whole immigration section. There is, as you mentioned, that assistance to companies that trade and investment portfolio. So we have a whole program that usually looks at bilateral trade and investment, if that is something we do a lot with that country. Sometimes there isn't. It can be a really small team. Sometimes it can be massive, like I mentioned in the United States or others, where the trade team is significant, and they're primarily focused on helping Canadian businesses succeed in the local market, but also attracting investment dollars from that country back into Canada.
Right.
As well as looking at some partnerships in universities and education. There's the political and economic section. They look at the bilateral relationship with that country. They look at things like shared human rights, any sort of like political type of strategic dialogues and things like this.
Yeah.
Then you have the development section, potentially. So if it's a country that benefits from international assistance from Canada, development projects, There'll be a big development arm, so a lot of, obviously in Africa and other countries where we have big development programs. And then we can have people in the embassy from other federal departments, military, where there's military cooperation. You can have RCMP, where we work on policing, cross-border issues, the border agency. So the embassy actually can be very small and targeted, or it can be very large and multi-program.
So how many people in general would you have at an embassy?
So your management layer, I would say usually 1/3 of your personnel, or the management layer, they're your Canadian diplomats. Mm-hmm. And the other 2/3 would be locally hired.
Okay.
So always majority local staff.
Oh, wow.
Locally hired staff.
Yeah.
They're your continuity, they're the local language, the culture, they're your kind of bridge. And obviously the Canadians bring that Canadian element.
Yeah.
And it really depends. You can have really small offices where you have one Canadian and even 1 or 2 locally engaged staff, to large offices like we have in Beijing, Washington, London, where you have possibly upwards of 100 or more diplomats and 300-400 or more locally engaged staff, depending on the size of the program.
Yeah.
A medium size, your more average sized embassy would be around in the 20s, 20 to 30 Canadians and 60 to 80 locals. Yeah.
Wow. Never knew.
Yeah, so in Cairo, we did have a trade section. They worked a lot on education. We did a lot in education. We did a lot in agri-food, a lot of food products and services back and forth.
Yeah.
What else did we do? I want to say I wasn't in the trade section, so natural resources as well. So natural resources more in Upper Egypt.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You touched on immigration as well.
Yes,
Canada's very hot on, allowing, immigrants to come into Canada.
Yes.
Which I think is very commendable. Being half Swedish as well. Sweden's renowned for that as well.
Right.
How does that work? That people just turn up at the embassy and apply, or?
Well, yes. In short, yes, everyone can apply. And the immigration section, which is a different foreign ministry, it's the Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship. So they, will assess the file depending on whether someone's applying to study or to permanently immigrate. Our study permits, for example, allow the person, once they've graduated, to stay a few years and work, because of our policy of, we need immigrants to kind of keep Canada's economy going. Our population just isn't sustainable enough. On the refugee side, we get referrals from UNHCR, so the UN agency responsible for referring refugees, and we work very closely with those bodies to not reproduce those efforts, and consider heavily referrals from UNHCR, other agencies that would work. And then we obviously do our own if there are particular. So one that garnered a lot of press attention recently was the Syrian refugee file, where we made a decision that we would take a certain amount, and there were local refugee agencies doing referrals, there were private sponsorships, but also the government had kind of deployed a team to take a look at it as well, to supplement those normal channels, because there was just such a volume issue. And a time urgency to it. So
Wow. What about Americans that want to work in Canada? Do you allow that as well? How does that work?
Sure. Same process. Yeah, same process for everyone. No different depending on the nationality. I think probably the backgrounds are going to be different. The exposure is going to be different. But the file review is on everyone in the same way, and depending on it could be corporate sponsorship, like I said, if it's a particular company that's headhunting a particular expertise from whatever country, that process would be the same.
Nice. Okay, after Cairo.
So after Cairo, we went right to Romania, to Bucharest.
Okay.
For 3 years.
Yeah. Was that a good posting?
Yes. It's fascinating. We to be fair, we were so fortunate that we would always get top 3. So you get a list, kind of here are all the openings, and you apply.
Right.
You can put up to 5 preferences, and we would always get something in our top 3. So we were always very excited to go there and felt it was the right thing for the family at the time and for the career at the time. And so, we liked all of our postings. Romania was fantastic.
Was that a bit quieter than obviously Cairo?
It was supposed to be.
Oh, really? What happened?
It was supposed to be.
What are you trying to tell us, Stefanie, there every time?
No, it was
Actually, when did you arrive here? Was that at the time of the blockade?
No, isn't that interesting?
Okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'd have a reputation. But
Yeah,
no,
absolutely.
Yeah, no. Well, so we arrived in Romania, and there were massive protests that started shortly after about a change, and it was basically on health services and health provision for the population, and they kind of rose up against this particular change. So there were mass protests.
Okay.
So that was something that was interesting. And then the prime minister moved to impeach the president. So there was a long kind of political saga that was happening, and some interesting elements that kept the embassy busy, because anything that happens, you have political strife in a country where you're posted, you're reporting on that, right?
Yeah,
You're trying to learn, you're trying to find out what's really happening, who the actors are and what their motivation is, and you're reporting on that to try to help understand and see if Canada has a role or not, or how things are going to play out. So that keeps you occupied, even though it might be indirect. A little bit like you mentioned, the blockade, right? It's very much doesn't impact Canada here, except there are impacts, and we're working on understanding, what are the impacts, what are the consequences, how
you might be able to help.
Are they adapting? How can we help? Or how are they adapting, and what is the outlook, and what are the predictions, and that kind of thing. You're here to try to understand and see how it relates back home.
And is there a lot of networking going on? Are you going to a lot of embassy parties and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, not parties.
No,
not parties.
Oh no, can't go. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, networking events, definitely. And so both types, you network with other ambassadors and other embassies, just to kind of see our working environment is the same, our mandates are usually the same. But for our own countries.
Yes.
And then you're also networking and doing a lot of events with where you're trying to meet and interact with local decision makers, local government. Here it's more difficult just because of the population ratio, right? It's much heavily expat here.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the population's maybe 10 to 15% any given time is Qatari. So it's a little bit harder to truly feel like you are close to and know that population if you base yourself on all of your experiences in Doha. So many expats.
Wow. Okay.
But it's great, and we do a lot of events, and that's how you really get to know a particular country and culture. And so it could be art at Qatar, it could be sporting events like the tennis that we were just talking about, or the World Gymnastics where we had our athletes competing. To political, you've got these great universities at Education City that offer these panels and seminars, to Brookings and think tanks that offer. So really fascinating events that we get to attend in all sorts of different spectrums to build that network, but also to build our own understanding of what's happening here, what are the trends, what are the concerns, where can we possibly make a difference that fit in with our priorities.
Yeah. So are you out every day? Is it generally every day there's something going on, like an event?
Yes, absolutely. Especially here in Doha. It's not everywhere, but in Doha, it's And I think they part of it is they cram 12 months into 8 months.
Yes, that's
because
true.
of the summer.
Yeah.
So there's some of that kind of compactness of it. And also, I just think there's such a big variety. I mean, we talked about some of the events, but there are also the business events, too, that we talked about. Doha Bank is always doing things on the economy.
Oh, absolutely.
Investment, and you have UNESCO here and ILO who are doing things, UN multilateral front. So it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, we had our ILO in the other week.
I saw him on your Twitter. No, on your Instagram, I think. Yes, Hutan. He's fabulous, isn't he?
Yeah, superb. Very good.
Canadian.
Oh, is he?
Yes. He didn't mention that?
Well, I didn't do the interview. It was on Doha Heat, so
excuse me.
I haven't heard the actual interview.
He is. He's a dual citizen, but I stress the Canadian part of that.
Of course. So do you have to talk at most of these events, or?
It depends. Not really. I would say maybe a quarter of them. Yeah, I'm going to say a quarter of them. And
when you go to these events, do you promote Canadian business? What?
Well, it depends on the event. It depends on the event. So we will promote whatever interest or linkage there is with Canada at that particular event. So it could be on capacity building around human rights or migrant labor reform, which Hutan probably talked about when he was here. It could be about business, if it's a chamber activity or something at Qatar Financial Center or the bank.
Yeah, I'm just curious. What's Canada, what are your big businesses? Just out of curiosity.
So a lot of big businesses here are around the oil and gas and infrastructure.
Yeah.
They would be, for example, CAE, SNC-Lavalin. You have...
I'm just looking at you bluntly. Okay, right, yeah.
And then we have big educational institutions. So College of the North Atlantic,
Yes.
Qatar, that's out of Newfoundland, Labrador. We have University of Calgary that does nursing degrees.
Yeah. Very
Obviously
close
out of
to them.
Calgary.
Yeah.
You have... I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Companies, so we have Accreditation Canada, Royal College of Surgeons, who do a lot of accreditation work, standards work with CIDRA, Primary Health, the Ministry of Health. A lot of educators here working in a lot of the different schools at Qatar University, HBKU. And we have doctors working at Hamad, working at CIDRA, a lot at CIDRA.
Yeah.
And then, they're kind of here and there. Every time I go and visit a company or a ministry, they bring out the Canadians to meet me. And so there's always a half dozen random Canadians
that pop out.
I was just at Aspetar, seeing their fantastic facilities and the work they do, the sports medicine hospital and Aspire. And some of the heads of departments, some of the heads of departments were Canadian, and a lot of some of the technology and standards were brought in from Canada.
Yeah.
I was at Baladna Dairy.
Oh, yeah.
Thousands and thousands, close to 9,000 Canadian cows. Yeah.
So you didn't get to meet all of them? But
not all of them. I shook some hands. I actually wasn't allowed to touch them because there's a whole sterilization process.
Oh,
right?
really?
You can't, that's the industry, and they really are serious about providing really sanitary, safe type of environment for the cows, because a happy cow is a producing cow.
Absolutely.
So, but they're on Canadian cow beds, and they're held back by Canadian gates, and they eat Canadian dehydrated corn. So
Canadian cow beds.
Yes, I've learned that the cows have beds.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they look comfortable.
Canadian cow beds. Okay.
True story. So there are those linkages. If I'm at an event where there are a lot of Canadian citizens, then I'm talking a little bit about what we can do for Canadian citizens and processing times and client service hours and things like that. So it really depends on the audience in the event, but we have to be ready to talk a little bit about what that particular audience wants to hear about and where the relevance is for them when it comes to Canada.
Wow. So how long have you been here up to now?
5 months.
So you're planning staying here for 4 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Posting
3
here.
years
Yep.
posting. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And then no idea where you're going to go from there.
No, it's
3
too
years.
soon.
So
Too
you're not
soon.
going to be here for the World Cup?
No, isn't that devastating?
Well, I think you need to extend.
I know, everyone says that, but because they've moved it, extending would hit it if it was in the summer. Right, but no, it's in November. December, so I'd have to extend again.
Yeah.
I know. I think I might just come back to
Just
visit.
come back to visit.
That networking you talked about. That's
Absolutely,
gonna be
that's very handy.
A guest room somewhere for the World Cup.
Oh, well, who's not going to put you up, having the Canadian ambassador?
That's right. So, and after Bucharest, actually, we went to Sao Paulo, and we hit World Cup in 14 and then the Olympics in 16.
Oh, wow.
So we were pretty lucky.
Yeah.
So I guess I shouldn't...
And how did Canada do in both those?
We weren't in the World Cup.
Well, I was going to say, do you think you're going to be... Is Canada going to be in this World Cup?
We did quite well.
Yeah, well, you guys do.
Yeah, we did well in the Olympics. But yeah, the World Cup, the Women's World Cup is coming up. FIFA Women's World Cup is coming up this summer, and the women are playing. Canada's women are playing. So we'll be doing.
And you said they're good at the women's team.
They are.
Is better.
Yeah, they are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them play as well in the Olympics. They were amazing.
Yeah.
But
so do you think
they are better, I think.
Do you think the men's team is going to reach this World Cup?
This World Cup, there's still time. I'm optimistic. I mean, obviously, I'm cheering for them, and I really hope so. I think you'll see an evolution of football in Canada. I think as more younger children are getting into it, and a lot more competitive teams than when I was a kid. There weren't really a lot of football teams when I was a child, or camps, or activities, or coaches. And that's changed now. So maybe in the next few years, still 4 years.
Yeah, still time.
Still a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. I was going to say something, but then it's just gone out of my head.
Oh,
don't you hate that?
I do.
Oh, no, I've lost it. I
That's
Okay.
okay. You have a Cracker Jack editing team, right?
Well, no, we generally keep it going.
Oh, no,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. No, it was going to be. No, I can't remember. Anyway. So you're a keen scuba diver.
I am a keen scuba diver. I love scuba diving.
And
So
have you
in
been-
Egypt, I was able to do a lot, right?
well, that's meant to be the best place.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really spoiled. Fantastic. Every kind of weekend we tried. My daughter got certified there. My husband got certified there. So Red Sea weekends were frequent.
Oh, beautiful.
And even when we lived in Romania, we would come back for family holidays. We would
Yeah.
go back to Egypt after the revolution and everything because nobody was going. So
Oh, wow,
prices were
so-
good. And we knew the area and loved the area, so we kept going to Egypt. I'd love to go when I'm here, but it's a little bit difficult with the blockade to try to,
Oh, yeah.
flight-wise. But
Yeah,
there are a
flights
lot
are-
of great scuba locations close to here. You've got Maldives, which is close. You can go down south. Oman has some good diving as
Yes,
well.
apparently.
I'm told you can do some diving here, and you can snorkel as well.
Yeah, I
but,
think there's a few clubs that
Yeah,
are around, but
yeah, you can do certification and everything, and they do, I think, combination scuba camping too, which is great here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you camp and then just go
Yeah.
scuba diving.
Camp it,
for the
go
weekend.
scuba dive and then come out and spend your time on barbecue and camping and go back in and out, and that way you don't kind of come back to the city each time.
Yeah, that's true.
You could, but it's I think probably a little bit more relaxing
Yeah.
experience. Yeah. A lot
So-
of activities here.
So do you see yourself carrying this life on until, ripe old age, or?
I think, like I said, I love traveling. I love going to new countries and being exposed to new cultures and traditions. Whether it would be in this job, I can't say. I love
Yeah.
it for now.
But you
and,
can
I'm
carry
very
on as
happy
long as you-
now, and I could carry on.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Because you met the Swedish ambassador. She's amazing, isn't she?
She's fantastic. Yes,
Yeah,
she is.
full of energy
I see
and-
her a lot. Yep, she's fantastic. We're just shot a video together, the female ambassadors here in Doha. So
So how many are there?
there are 7 of us.
Wow.
8 if you count the director of UNESCO, which technically has a diplomatic
Oh, that's great.
kind of accreditation. Anna, yeah, she's the director here, and so there are 8 of us total, 7 ambassadors. We
well
hope an 8th with the United States. They had named
Yeah.
before the change in Congress, so the process has to start over. So we'll see if she still gets nominated.
Yeah.
But President Trump had nominated a woman,
Wow.
career diplomat, to
Oh,
come
good for
here.
him.
So we'll
He's
see.
done something right then.
Yeah. Well, their last female ambassador was very effective here. They still talk about her whenever I meet people. They raise her as an example of.
That's what I was going to ask you. How does it feel when you take over from a, previous ambassador? You're filling in someone's shoes. So if they've
Yeah.
got a big personality and then suddenly you're filling those shoes, how does it feel? What's the feedback? Do you get feedback, or
You do sometimes.
do you feel pressure that you have to fill those shoes, or are you quite happy just to, this is me, this is how I'm going to run things?
I think you have to make it your own. I think the people who work a lot with ambassadors, so other ambassadors, the diplomatic community, the foreign ministries here in Qatar, the Qatari foreign ministries, they are used to that. And so they know that. And they know that there's going to be a change. And like everyone, when there's a change, there's an opportunity to
Yeah.
re-pitch ideas, maybe so people tend to look at it positively to see maybe this ambassador will be the one to kind of want to partner on this
Yeah,
initiative,
yeah.
or will say yes to this, idea, or no, or support me to say no, whatever they're trying to lobby for. And no, I think you have to make it your own and not worry about it too much. And just, our job is to represent Canada.
Yeah.
So not ourselves or not our own personal agendas. So
Yeah.
as we tend to be fairly consistent in that. So our beliefs and our projects and our priorities will be the same. It's just how we deliver them
Yeah.
that'll be a little bit different.
Very
So
good.
there's not that much difference
No.
between us in terms of be in style, but not in terms of substance
No,
or
exactly.
priority.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
we're pretty consistent.
Are there any big Canadian events that are happening coming up?
We have.
Do you have a national day, or
We do.
You do.
Our national day is July 1st. which of course doesn't happen here. So we're going to be celebrating it earlier in March.
Okay.
Our Flag Day was a couple of days ago.
Okay.
So we will be doing a business event around March 6th. We don't do big citizen events like we used to.
No.
We have some trade delegations coming to town. So again, a big agri-food delegation is coming in March. And we're looking at hopefully bringing in a keynote speaker for one of the university sessions coming up soon, but nothing really big until probably the fall.
Okay.
We're constantly trying to get ministerial visits or large trade delegations or bring delegations from here up to Canada, but nothing confirmed on that front yet.
And it's your Prime Minister. Is he called Prime Minister?
He is.
It's not.
Correct.
So is he
Prime
coming
Minister.
over at any time?
He will not be coming over, I don't think. We keep trying. He's very popular.
Yeah, he's very
Yes,
popular.
he's very popular.
Yeah.
We have a lot of requests for him to visit
I bet.
all sorts of places.
Yeah.
We will keep asking, but so far we don't have any positive confirmation on that.
Has he gone around the world? Because
He has. He's done some visits. He's, Asia, India, United States, obviously Europe. He tends to go more when less on bilateral visits and more on the margins of a big NATO conference or UN or something, So there's a purpose that brings him there, and then he'll kind of visit that region.
So he doesn't...
Versus I think because you set a precedent once you start doing that.
Yeah.
And as I said, he's somebody who's invited a lot.
No, I bet.
Yeah, but I wish. That'd be great. We would get a great turnout.
Totally.
We'll have Mounties in town soon, so we're hoping that's a very kind of Canadian thing. I don't know but it's a brand for us, our Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which we
So
say
they're going to come?
where we have 2 coming in the first week of March who will be doing some public events.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll get that out.
Wasn't there a drama many years ago with a mounted police? What was?
Yes, True North. I can't
That's
believe you know
right.
that.
Yes.
It was a cross-border type of Mountie and American police, very full of stereotypes. I'm not sure our Royal Canadian Mounted Police appreciated that show as much as some, but it definitely sells. Yeah, they're definitely a brand.
So they'd be
People
in the
recognize.
whole
Red serge
uniform and with a big hat.
Yes, the
Is it-
boots and the big hat.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
No, they look great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're hoping that, well, we know they're coming first week of March. I'm not going to say exactly where in case your listeners go out, but we do have to have security with them. They get mobbed. They get physically mobbed and attacked.
Wow.
They do. People love Mounties.
What? They just want to touch them, or just?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they want to touch them and grab them, and we've had people jump on them, like take a run and jump and leap on the. Yeah, people go a little bit crazy for the Mountie, which they find amusing as well. When we tell them we'll have a security detail, they think, well, we're the police. We don't need security. We say, wait for it.
Yeah.
Because you can't shake people off or defend yourself necessarily in these outfits.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're nice people. That is our brand. Our brand is that we're very nice. So if you saw a Mountie kind of swinging to get people off of him or her, it wouldn't paint the nice. So we have a security detail to keep the people away.
Very good. Actually, I used to
they'll
watch.
be out.
Actually, I used to watch Northern Exposure. Was that set in Alaska or Canada?
Alaska. American, but we'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Alaska's the little bit that's separated from the rest of them and is closer to us.
Exactly. I always find that a bit weird that Alaska's part of
That's
the
true,
US,
right?
and it should be part of Canada.
Yeah, it's we're not looking to take it. I don't want to start any rumors, but I think that vision of the North, where you have the Inuit peoples, the igloos, the polar bears, that normally people associate with Canada much before they'll associate it with the United States. But they do have Alaska. It's true.
So are they allowed to pass through Canada to Alaska without? Oh, don't you have a certain amount of days that you can pass through to get to Alaska? Is that?
In terms of the actual feasibility of making the pass?
No, I was watching some program on Netflix where this couple had a big yellow bus, and they could pass through Canada within a certain duration of time.
Oh yes, well probably because if they had so they can't stay.
They
indefinitely.
can't stay. Yeah, absolutely.
Correct. They don't need a visa, but it's a little bit like here. You have 30 days.
Okay.
Right. If it's more than 30 days, you have to declare yourself or go in and re-extend or. But that was probably if they were kind of doing a cross-country tour. It would take a long time.
Yeah.
So that was most likely it.
Great.
it would have a 30-day.
Okay.
Have you visited? Have you been to Canada?
No.
Oh, Steph,
It's on my hit. It's on my hit list.
There you go.
Because
We can make some
you're on.
recommendations to you.
You're on the same level as Sweden, and I love Sweden. We go there every year.
Yeah.
Because it's in the family. But
course.
Canada, you'll be the first place that I would visit. I've never been attracted to go to the US, but Canada would be my first.
Yeah,
port of call.
absolutely. Well, it's very similar to the U.S., but we have fascinating landscapes and beautiful nature and great food,
Yeah.
friendly people.
Well,
So
this is
you're
it.
welcome.
Yeah, it's more my style.
This is why you're asking about how long can I go? And
Yeah,
how much
exactly. I'm just.
how do I drive to Alaska? Sure, the embassy can do that too. We can help with good ideas about what to see and do.
Okay.
Those who have tourism sections.
Right.
Some do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
We don't. But you can just,
okay.
you can just message me.
Well, okay, great. All right, that's it, Stephanie.
Awesome.
We've
Thank
run
you
out of
so
time.
much.
Thank you. I won't shake your hand because you're coming down with a cold.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry for the coughing. Now I'm feeling
No,
really
you-
bad that you can't edit that out.
No, that's fine. That's all part of having a
Really? All
podcast.
The cough.
Oh, the cough. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought you meant about me. forgetting
me,
my
your cough.
question. Oh, no. Oh, don't worry about that.
All
right.
right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we catch up with you next week. Take care.